So when I talked to Shazad earlier, he said that he had never actually been set up on a date, and you were his mother in this film. Maybe did you ever think about setting him up, or was that subject ever broached
You
personally?
know, Shahzad is such a good-looking boy that he only has to look at a girl and she'll be very happy to go on a date with him. So as his mother, I didn't have to do any of that.
Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch Your Pass. Today I'm joined by Shabana Azmi, the star of What's Love Got to Do With It, which is coming to theaters on May 5th, 2023. I'm going to talk to her right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. That helps me out a lot. Thank you.
Hi.
Excellent. Hello, how are you?
Good, very good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, all right, let's get started. So thanks so much for joining me. This is Shabana Azmi, the star of What's Love Got to Do With It, which is coming to theaters on May 5th, 2023. It is a rom-com that deals with, I guess, probably a subject that's a little more foreign to a lot of the viewing audience, but it does it with like care and humor. I really love the overall setup. And I loved your character. I love how your character kind of was a strong figure and kind of always looked out for her son's best interest. Maybe kind of tried to veer the situation, but I think your character came off as very kind of loving and supportive. And thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you liked the film, and I'm so glad you liked my character.
Of course, of course. So, the first question is, I guess, how did you get involved in this movie? You've done so many films. You've kind of done drama and comedy. How did you get into this project, and what appealed to you about this one?
Shekhar Kapur, the director of the film, is a friend of mine. And the first film he ever directed, I was in that film. And
That's
I
amazing.
really consider him a very, very fine director. And so when the subject came to me, in fact, when I saw the script, I found it very witty, very clever, with a very warm heart. And it was this script, really, that grabbed my attention. And of course, the fact that Shekhar Kapur was directing it, and that I had an opportunity to work with Emma Thompson, who has been a hero of mine for so many years, not only because of the work she does as an actor, but also the human rights work that she has done. Mm. And it was too good to say anything but yes, in spite of the fact that we had to shoot really at the height of COVID in London. And I remember when I took the plane and I went, my family said, you're going to be back in 3 days. This is completely crazy. But we actually finished the film in 40 days, which was a record of kinds. So there was a very strict COVID protocol that we had to maintain. So after we went out of the sets, we were not allowed to meet anybody at all. So we were working in these bubbles. And of course, that put a kind of strain on it, but it made it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of people that did projects during COVID, and it was, nerve-wracking, concerning at the start. But then once you kind of got into that bubble, as you say, like it actually, people I've talked to said it was actually very nice because you're finally like with people, you're interacting, and even though you have restrictions, like you can trust that everyone is kind of following them, and you're able to kind of get to a semblance of normal life.
Sure.
Yeah. And so I'm just curious, like you've played all sorts of different roles. This one, you're kind of more, I don't know what your personality is like, but it feels like this might be one that could just be kind of your person, you kind of personally being this character. Did you have to do any prep for it, or was this just kind of like naturally you when you just kind of walk on the set and you were who you were?
No. Well, the way I have been raised is a very progressive family, and so I am a very progressive person. I like to think of myself as a liberal, progressive person. But what I liked about Aisha is that she's on the cusp of being traditional and embracing modern values. Mm-hmm. That, to me, is always interesting as an actor, to do that rather than something that is finely drawn, because then you have a chance of putting in subtext where there are no lines. And also, she's somebody I recognize. I know so many people who are like her. And the fact is, we do keep calling this a rom-com, but it's much more than that, because in a way you could call it a family rom-com, because really it's a film with a heart. And what touches me about it, apart from the humor and the clever lines and all that, is that its values touch you. which in today's world where there's so much strife, you feel, okay, this was a film whose time had come.
Yeah, exactly. And what struck me and my wife when I was watching it was like, this could be a difficult subject matter to approach, and it seemed to kind of do it with respect. It kind of, you had like a bunch of different viewpoints. It wasn't like, assisted marriage is good, assisted marriage is bad. It just said like it is one
Absolutely.
option, and it works for some people, and it doesn't work for others, and it's just kind of like you have to
Absolutely.
find your own path. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best thing about it, that it's not passing its value judgments on you. It's just presenting different points of view.
mhm. Exactly. And so when I talked to Shazad earlier, he said that he had never actually been set up on a date, and you were his mother in this film. Maybe did you ever think about setting him up, or was that subject ever broached personally?
Shahzad is such a good-looking boy that he only has to look at a girl and she'll be very happy to go on a date with him. So as his mother, I didn't have to do any of that but what was very interesting is the very first shot that I did in the film is the scene with Shahzad when I'm in the hospital.
Mhm.
When I come to him and I say that all I want is for my children to be happy. You remember
wow.
that scene?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that is a dramatic scene. That's kind of crazy that's the first one.
I mean, but Shekhar was really wicked for making that my first shot. I kept saying, Shekhar, that's unfair. But he says, no, just go for it. But what that did is it triggered immediately a relationship between Shahzad and me.
Mhm.
And that really, really helped work. And I think from there to work backwards was easy.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me when I was learning to drive, my dad made me parallel park as the first thing I learned. I was like, why? But then after that, he's like, well, now you know the hardest thing. You can just do everything else. So
Absolutely, yeah.
and I loved reading the press notes that you I think highlighted one line that I loved in this film, that you fall into like and then walk into love. I thought that was a great way to describe
those lines. I absolutely love those lines. And they're so wise.
Mhm.
There's such wisdom in those lines. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone talks about like head over heels in love, but if you've been in a relationship for a long time, like it is wonderful and supportive, but it is difficult. And it's something that you kind of have to like approach carefully and kind of gradually and build this kind of life around. And so I really love the way that they framed that.
Yeah.
So I know we have very limited time. I'm going to switch to, I call it the lightning round. They're just very lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map to things in the film. You can feel free not to answer any of them. I will not be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Mm-hmm.
The first question is, have you ever been set up on a date?
No. No. I could make my own way very early in life.
Well, that's a blessing and a curse, probably. This is probably related. You said you were in you had more of a progressive or liberal growing up. Did you ever get any pressure to get married? Either assisted or just meeting someone?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. In fact, because my father and I had a really, really very loving relationship, he would have liked me never to get married if he could.
That's awesome. Just wanted all your attention for himself. This film. Oh, go ahead.
He would always say that, in marriage, why don't you offer your father as dowry? He would say, why your father's dowry? It was very sweet.
That is very sweet. I love it. I love how much he wanted to spend time with you. This film had like a hangout place for the the kids in this that kind of had a special place. Did you have a special hangout place that was just for you, maybe your friends when you were growing up?
Yes, of course. And again, interestingly, it was a tree. There was a neem tree in our house, and we would then go up on different branches, and those different branches were our shelters, and that's where we would hang out. So that I really identified with a lot.
That's so crazy. It kind of came that was so like close to what happened in the film. I love that.
True.
And the last question is, I have to ask because I'm a big Halo fan. You were in the Halo series. Have you ever played Halo, or did you just prep for that role?
I had never played Halo, and I didn't even know what it was all about, except when I signed the series, my 14-year-old nephew, who had never given me time of day, suddenly looked at me with great respect. And I knew I was on something very big. I'd never played the game, no.
That is awesome. I love that you are now able to be like the cool aunt in this situation. That's fantastic. Awesome. Well, you can check out Shabana Azmi in Halo, but more importantly, you should check her out in What's Love Got to Do with It. It's coming to theaters on May 5th, 2023. It is a wonderful rom-com family drama that has a lot of heart and a lot of humor. Thank you so much for joining me.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was Shabana Azmi, the star of What's Love Got to Do with It, which is coming to theaters on May 5th, 2023. It is a fun but heartfelt rom-com that deals with a subject matter that might be foreign to a lot of people, but does it with both care and humor. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you. you